Hello, hi, it's Julie Rothwell here, coming live from the Blooms Art House social media pages. If you haven't seen, I am taking over the social medias during February as the Blooms Artist of the Month. So if you haven't seen what we've been doing previously, I will be coming and talking more about my artwork throughout February. Stephanie Lester, one of the other Blooms Art House artists, was on during January and shared so much incredible information about her fibre sculpting pieces of art. So they are all there. If you scroll back through the pages and down below, you will find all of those insights. It's really, really been interesting learning about people's art and their practices. So we hope you're going to find everything informative that we're bringing to you, and that you'll enjoy what we share. So as I say, I'm on during February. And I paint with beeswax. I'm an encaustic wax artist. I'm based in the UK, in Hertfordshire. There are very, very few of us in the UK, a bit of a rare breed to say the least. But yeah, it's definitely becoming more popular, more widely available, and more better known. So I'm hoping to share more of that with you. But what I thought I would talk about today, if you saw my live yesterday, or you can go back and rewatch the replay, it was a Friday afternoon and I did a bit of fun encaustic wax painting with an iron. I will show you actually in a mo what I was up to, but you can go and watch the live there. It's a beautiful, beautiful art form, just really therapeutic to apply. But actually there's very rich and fascinating history of encaustic wax as well. It actually dates back about 2,000 years. And yeah, I'm going to share a little bit about my research and just some of the history with you on that. So without further ado, I'm wandering around my studio here, excuse the walking tour. So yes, yesterday evening I was doing some live videoing, and it was just a bit of fun, and I was painting with an iron, and I did these live on film. But there is actually a very, very rich and fascinating history with encaustic. As I say, it dates back about 2,000 years, but it used to be used a lot in iconography and mummy portraits. So, a bit gruesome, but they did actually, in certain regions of Egypt, used to paint the portraits of the deceased onto the Egyptian mummies. So I did an awful lot of research on this when I first started painting with, well, once I discovered the portraiture in encaustic. So let me turn this around. Let me come back. Let me take myself back a step. Yeah, I started painting with this iron style and I loved it. But then as I used it more and more over time, I've been working with wax for about 10 years now. And as I used it more and more over time, I discovered there was so much more to it than the painting on paper, which is beautiful. I still do that to this day, but there is so much more depth to encaustic. And over time, I've done more and more research into that. So I set out, I said, it must be 9, 10, well, when I first started researching the mummy panels, it was probably 7, 8 years ago. But there wasn't nearly as much information on the internet then as there is now. There's a lot more available, slowly but surely. But anyway, I went down to the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford. I discovered that there were some panels down there, so I went and viewed them in the day. And that was when I went down with a lady called Lynn, actually, that I'd met at an exhibition. And that was when I went down. We scoured all around the Egyptian artifacts. It was fascinating reading and discovering it all. And we were determined to find something with these encaustic wax mummy panels on, and we did. This is the result of I don't know how many hours and hours of scouring. So this was what we found in their book department. We went through every single book we could find, and the sole information that we could locate at the time was this book, which covers all sorts of Egyptian artifacts. But there were these sort of 2 pages which discusses and it's a region called the Fayum region. It's one particular region in Egypt that did use this encaustic wax painting technique. And really, this was about the sum of what we could find. But what they've discovered is with the wax, where the wax has been used, actually the colours, the pigments bound within the wax, because it's its own natural preservative, the colours are as fresh as they were 2,000 years ago. And what tends to have happened if there has been any damage, it tends to be the supports underneath that that have failed rather than the actual wax itself. So that was really, really reassuring for me, in that the quality of the wax is going to last and have that conservational aspect to them. Let me turn this around again. So after that day out and finding this book, I went back. I contacted the conservators at the Ashmolean Museum because I was really frustrated and I just wanted to know more about them and where I could find more information. Hello, Sammy. Thanks for jumping on. Got some, Sammy's watching live. So I contacted them, tracked down the right person. When I'm determined to find something out, I will normally make sure I keep going until I'm speaking to the right people. Anyway, a very lovely guy came back to me, and a long story short, I actually met up with two of the UK leading experts in this field down at the Ashmolean Museum. They took me around, they gave me a private tour, they gave me so much information. It was just phenomenal. They were so generous with their time, and I am so grateful to them both for doing that. They were so generous with their time. I've actually spoken to a couple of times, and they always kind of direct me and help me with things that I need. Or have done in the past. Anyhow, they also took me up into the conservation rooms. So I'm at the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford in the UK. I'm in the conservation rooms upstairs, and my goodness me, it was like my dream job. You've got these ancient antiquities all around you. So these panels, most of these panels are on display in the main museum. But they have some more examples upstairs that are not in they're in a private collection upstairs. So I could actually see these up close. They literally brought them out on trays and showed me. And just being able to study that up close was just phenomenal. And what Susan, one of the ladies, had told me was that they had just been focusing on the history of the region. So, for example, what jewellery they had been wearing, or what the hairstyles were, what clothing they were wearing. So, but at that point on, they were actually interested in working with encaustic wax artists because they now wanted to get more into. They're still not 100% sure what techniques were used. They know it's wax, they know it's pigments bound within the wax. But they wanted to really get into the actual techniques, as opposed to, and the breakdown of the wax. What was there anything else within the wax? These days we use a Damar resin and a beeswax, but there was still everything with these museums is meticulous. Yes, Sammy. Oh my goodness, it was an amazing experience. It was dream day out. So anyway, we started talking about that, which was fascinating. And as I say, it was Susan that had told me about this, where if there's damage, it generally isn't the wax that has been that's deteriorated. It has been the supports underneath, or something might have spilt on top of the wax and therefore stained it. So that tended to be where the damage came from, which was, as I said, was really reassuring for me. Because the first thing everybody always asks you is your wax going to melt? Is it going, people aren't sure what's going to happen to the wax, but because of the quality and the durability of it and the way that it binds the pigments, they don't actually fade, or these examples haven't. It's 2,000 years. It's amazing. Anyhow, next up, they then showed me they've got this giant 3D scanner up there, and that is where they scan all of these panels. So I didn't actually see the scanning machine on and in action, but they then brought their laptop out and showed me a lot of the images that they'd seen. So they could then look at it in X-ray, they could look at it in all the different ways that a 3D scanner can show you. And that again was absolutely fascinating to see. So I've written a blog about it actually on my website. If you go and search Fayum, F-A-Y-U-M, there are different spellings, but that's the one that I use, and it's what's written in this book that I took from. But there are other spellings. Different people have different spellings from it. But there's a couple of blogs on there, and you can see there's actually a lot more. As I say, a lot more information on the internet now. So I was able to link into some images where it was an article, I think, by the Getty Museum where they had linked into these 3D scanned images. So I was actually able to show people what it was that I'd seen. So that was really fascinating. Anyhow, after that, there were quite a few examples around that time, but then they really died out, and it was because egg tempura. It's a really difficult process to paint with encaustic. Took a lot of time to create the, get the beeswax, go through the process, heat it, apply it, and egg tempera was so much quicker and a less expensive method of painting, and really encaustic seemed to die out after that for a very, very long time, and that's why it's only really recently seen a resurgence in popularity, really sort of 60s onwards. So that was one of the key reasons, but actually over time a lot of the egg tempura ones didn't stand the test of time in the same way. I mean, there are examples still surviving, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them didn't stand that test of time because termites like to eat egg, it's susceptible. The other thing, it's susceptible to moisture as well, whereas the beeswax, that will resist the moisture. You don't get the moisture coming in. So all these really fascinating things, and then also from there they put me in touch with now how do I pronounce it? I'm not sure, it's Petrie or Petrie Museum up in London, which is actually just down the road from the British Museum. Yeah, British Museum, I think it is. Gosh, it's a long time since I've been there. But yeah, there's a really lovely museum up there, and that has got loads more examples as well. So again, they're all linked up on my blog, so go and have a look. If this interests you and want to know a bit more about the history, then that's there. But anyhow, there we go. So a little small potted history about encaustic wax and some of the research that I've done. And after that, what was the other? So I then learned how to paint portraits myself. So I did a lot of study into that. I did let me show you actually. I did an iconography course with a lady down in High Wycombe, and this is actually egg tempura. So I did that with her for a week. That was a really lovely experience, actually, really amazing. And then from there, I discovered an encaustic wax painting course with Laura Murphy in London, and I did. That's really where I kind of got the foundations of how to paint with portraiture, rather than in the abstract style. But yeah, it's taken a lot, a lot of research, a lot of trial and error, a lot of digging into it, but I just think it's the most amazing background. So I always say encaustic, there is something for everybody. Total newbies can just have a load of fun with it, or you can really dig into it and understand the history. When you see those 2,000-year-old panels and icons painted in wax up close, it's quite a thing. Anyhow, they're a rare thing, but they're in museums around the world, so have a little look and see maybe if you can see one in your area or two. But yeah, happy to share any more resources, or if you've got any more questions. But yeah, I don't know if many people know that it dates back that far. There are other examples where it was used on boats to decorate boats as well. I haven't gone into the research on that. My study has been on the Fayum panels, but there we go. Anyway, my little experience into encaustic wax history. Was there anything else I was going to say? Yeah, let me know if you've got any questions. I can pop back on or answer them in the comments below. So I'm going to be doing some portrait painting this month in wax, so you can watch that. I'll also be doing some abstract layered pieces as well, so you can follow those along with me throughout the month of February. So do make sure, basically I'm going live mostly on Facebook, on the Facebook Blooms Art House page, so you can catch me on there, but they will also be reshared across YouTube and Instagram. There's lots of different snippets on each one, so follow us on your channel of choice. And as I say, do kind of look out for every month there's going to be a different artist. And also go back and see the previous month's artists, because so much amazing information being shared. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and lovely to see you, and catch up soon. Take care. Bye.